Calling to order the Board Policy Committee meeting of November 30th. We're establishing a quorum. Physically present, I am here. Bill Harrison
Present.
and Jessica Riddick.
Here.
Okay, we have, all members are here. Ed. Do we have any public? We just left.
We have not received any public comment cards or written public comments or any live public comment requests.
Okay. So let's start then with the press updates. I will go through them by number. So we will start with 110, school district legal status. Do we have any questions or comments on that one?
Nope.
Nope. Okay, so that's good to go. 120, district organization, operations and cooperative agreements.
Nope.
That's just, these are just 5-year reviews.
Right.
130, school district philosophy.
That's taken directly from our.
And the only thing that's being removed is the adopted date. 330, chain of command. 100, using animals in educational program.
No concern about the policy, but do we have any students
I
or
was just
staff
going to ask
currently
that.
using or requiring service animals? I'm just curious.
Not yet. We do have, therapy animals that come in to work with, dogs mostly that come in and,
Right.
Periodically to work with, our structured teaching program, our ELSP program, but we don't have any students that are needing full-time service animals with them.
Okay.
At least not yet.
I read this as to being more like classroom pets. We have some of those, I'm sure. Not really?
Trying not to,
Okay.
Ever since the snake got loose many years ago in Mr. Wilson's classroom.
I know a couple of Beck's teachers have had them, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that they're specifically, we don't encourage it. Right.
Okay. Okay. So next is 6170, Title I programs. And again, this is just changing the date. 7220, bus conduct. Again, just the date. 7230, misconduct by students with disabilities. And, okay, now we get the ones that have got updates.
Good.
Okay. 210, school district governance. Does anybody have any questions?
No, and I will say, I like the press plus comments at the bottom because a lot of my questions were answered just looking at the commentary as opposed to the language itself.
So we are good to go on that one?
That's fine.
Okay. 2130, board superintendent relationship.
That really wasn't a change.
Yeah, I mean, it was adding that sentence, but. So that one's good to go. 2240, board policy development.
Just first, two things. First of all, one, just as a question, do we want to take the language that they're using now as words importing gender and put it in the front of the manual as we discussed before? But more importantly, just to the two of you, because I know this was something that you were concerned about, obviously they listened to you too. So Might not be 100% of what you wanted, but they're listening.
Well, they're starting to listen. I mentioned it in passing to Beck at lunch today, actually. And they were like, in many ways, this is almost worse to that community because they feel that, it's buried in the middle of a policy.
Well, that's part of why I said, putting it in the front.
Right, it's like, words importing the masculine and or feminine gender include all gender neutral inclusive pronouns. It's like, to me, it seems like the lazy way out without going through, and the 5-year review just changed them because I noticed right away that we've got the masculine and feminine pronouns right in there. It's like, you could have started there, but without the resolution that we were talking about, nothing was put forward yet, so.
Well, I think we have our work cut out for us if we're
Oh,
gonna
yes,
bring such a resolution next year.
yes.
Being mindful of the very helpful comments that our other board members made when we discussed it. I think I have to acknowledge this is a step forward to at least acknowledge that there are other genders. I don't like the way they wrote this, but I think it is a step forward. It's a step of acknowledgement, at least, that I think helps us open the door further. Say, if we're gonna include all these other pronouns, let's just go ahead and start doing it in the policy manual. I mean, the door's been opened for us. But in terms of where we move this, I don't really have, I would like it to be prominent in our policy manual. If that's something you guys are in favor of, I think.
Well, I think it stays here because it's an important place to stay here, but you
Right,
can also
but I
take it,
think, yeah,
and just put it on the front page so that we acknowledge that specifically.
Mhm.
Um,
And there was discussion, obviously,
Mhm.
about a separate policy.
Right.
That you created and adopted, and
Mhm.
I'll be honest, I just have not had the opportunity to really put a lot of work into
Mhm.
drafting anything. It's not to say that it's not important.
Right,
It's been-
right.
no, we understand.
Can't imagine anything else going on.
yeah,
But I will also point out, as you two are talking about your resolution, note in the comments, this is an optional policy.
right,
And it's to the extent that we could hear how some of these discussions may go in other places and other districts throughout our state, may give you an indication as to how your resolution may fare. So,
I am also having the policy discussion tomorrow night with NSSEO, so I will be able to hear how the other districts in there are dealing with this one.
Please share that feedback at our
Yes.
next meeting. I'd
Oh,
like
yeah.
to know at least where our neighbors are.
I did mention it to Alva at the conference, and she is all in being a co-sponsor of the resolution.
Oh, great.
So getting the high school district will help. So do you think we should leave it in? And have our own policy, or just have our own policy, or should we bring it up
well,
to the?
we don't have our own policy right now, so we might as well leave it in. Once we have our own policy, once we have the time to do it, we could eliminate this and put our own policy in. But taking this out without a policy doesn't seem to,
Right,
it may only be a half step, but a half step is better than no step. And, then we can work on a policy going forward. And then really the only question is whether you just want to put it on the front of the manual or not as well. But that wouldn't be a policy. That would just be language right there for people to
Right.
see.
I agree with Bill. I'd like to
Yeah.
leave it where it is with an acknowledgement of, our commitment that we're going to take this further. And I do like the idea of just adding language, not policy language, but just blanket language on the beginning of our policy manual that does not use language based in the masculine.
Okay. So we want to say we will adopt this as presented.
Asterisk.
Yes, yes.
More to come.
With a
Yes.
heavy but.
I like the way Bill just put it, more to come.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay, then we go to 2/230 school district elections. I mean, that was just a legal reference
Right.
update, yeah. And then we have 510 equal opportunity, employment opportunity and minority recruitment.
I think all this does is make changes as required by changes to federal and state law, so.
Right. So there's nothing we can, we essentially have to adopt that one. Okay, and then we go to 6/145 migrant students. And again, it looks like it's all in accordance with federal law. And then we have 6/160 English learners. And this I did have a question on. Do we have this parent advisory committee?
Yeah.
Okay, we do have a good one. Okay.
I'm sorry, what did you refer to it as, by the way?
EPAC,
BPAC, okay.
so bilingual program.
Okay, no, I'm just curious.
Okay, and 6/230 access to electronic networks.
It's fine, I just had a curiosity question. They deleted the term "or district computers." I take it that I'm just simply behind technology-wise, and the use of the term networks is more than sufficient, and computers is redundant.
It's not only computers. Now it's inclusive of its phones, its tablets, it's, you know, so it really, the network is the general term for anything of that
Okay.
nature.
So it's just a redundancy, which was, okay.
Redundancy and computers as a term being really kind of outdated.
Okay.
So many different devices.
I saw an ad today for a corded handset attached to a tablet. We've come full circle.
Okay.
Okay, the one question I did have is with the hotspots that we're providing. I'm sure parents are using those for their personal.
Probably.
Okay, what if they were to be doing something on there that there shouldn't be?
Well, they can't, in terms of.
Oh, because it still goes, our firewall, okay.
And I don't know if you saw the other question I put on there, Mike, toward the end.
Let me take that back. I have to double check. If the hotspots is just the connection to.
Right.
To the Wi-Fi. I would need to check with Mike to see, certainly if they're using a hotspot and their child's Chromebook.
Oh,
they
no,
might be able to get connected.
right,
But I would need to double check to see if they're using, if they're connecting their device to our hotspot, if any of our. filtering
and would they have any expectation of privacy since they are using it? Okay, we have every right to look at their phone to see what they're looking at.
Oh, hotspots are filtered. You've got Mike.
Oh.
Thank you, Mike.
Answering
The conversation, okay.
That's an awesome use of technology, or network.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Okay,
And
awesome.
There's a phrase, any user in there, which now includes board members, volunteers, and I would assume visitors. I would assume visitors are also subject to the policy, and is it incumbent upon us in any way to make the policy more widely available so people know it?
Well, anybody who is long-term, or, like volunteers, things of that nature, will have received and needed to sign off on the acceptable use policy. If they're visitors, they are connecting via our network, which they would have needed to have been given access to our network through a password, and they won't really have the ability to do anything because, again, it's going to be under our control. So it's I mean, it's not. Well, and the other thing is that our acceptable use policies are on the internet, they're on the web. It's not viable to, so anytime one of our contractors walks in and jumps on our network to make sure they have an, an acceptable use policy that they sign. That's just not, so we've got the control of the network that,
Okay.
and again, because they're a visitor, we don't have to grant them access. So if there was some issue that popped up, it was, guess what? You don't get access to our network when you're here.
Okay.
Okay. So then we're good to go on that one?
I think so.
Okay. 6-255, assemblies and ceremonies. Looks like just legal references. 6-260, complaints about curriculum, instructional materials, and programs.
Not so much a problem with the policy, but just as how we approach the community. This seems to imply that suggestions should go on a complaint form, which perhaps there should be a separate for a non-combative situation, if you will.
Yeah, I saw that comment, and that makes sense. I mean, we do have, and it's really right out of press, right? It's
Okay.
that for the complaint form, but we can just as easily, reformat this to be a suggestion or whatever the case may be. So I'd want to talk with Beatrice.
Okay.
See, if she's used something, if she's, but that's not a difficult thing to do.
And it's not an issue with the policy itself. It's more how we handle things, but
Yeah, it's a good point.
yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so we're good on that one then, sounds like. 7-280, communicable and chronic infectious disease.
It's a good thing we have a
What do you say
super,
about that?
we've got a superintendent that's good at creating these policies, so we're in good shape there in procedures. He's got some experience at it now.
Just a little. And then 890, parent organizations and booster clubs.
And again, just I don't have who is the liaison?
Well, they're liaisons.
Okay.
It depends on what it is. So if you're talking about PTOs, it's the building principal.
Okay.
If there was a district PTO council, it would be me or one of my designees,
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. No problem with the policy. I was just curious.
And we're good on that one, and that appears to be it. I like this.
Yeah, this one's easy. The next one probably won't be.
Correct.
I think it's gonna be big.
That's okay.
Yeah, that's what they've been referring to.
Yeah.
It's okay. You had two attorneys here and you got it out in under 15 minutes. That's pretty damn good.
I
Well,
know.
it's nice that we had a relatively non-confrontational one using the new format, which is amazing, by the way. It's so much easier to use.
Okay.
So this way I'm not getting mad about stuff while also trying to figure out why is my computer upside down.
Well, then, as I said, the fact that they've got those references in there and their commentary
Mhm.
really,
Uh-huh.
so that you know what they're thinking about. So I don't have to ask, what the hell are they thinking about here?
Right. They tell you what they're thinking up front. Okay, then it looks like our next scheduled board meeting will be Thursday, December 9th. Regular time, regular place, and we are adjourned. I don't need to, yep, at 12:20.